on the big 4630 mission. Ned and I were working on a new cab kit last night. Got that all in here. I can finish getting the seat in. I gotta change that front console. Some lights. We're about ready to go on. Main reason to split it was the PTO clutch was out. And then there was some material in the oil filters, so ended up dropping the oil pan, changing all the rod bearings out. Main bearings looked fine, so I didn't mess with them. But hopefully get the cab finished, get her on there tomorrow. So today's mission is going to be, got to pull the steering wheel on that 4630 so we can change the center console up front there. Last night I did get the seat in after I broke the riv nut tool in half. Got the seat in and put some of the track around the outside of the windows and that kind of stuff, and see if we can get that center console changed. Got the low pressure switch for the air conditioner has to get wired in up top of the cab, and a couple other little things, and be ready to put the cab back on. This is the fancy steering wheel puller setup. Had to get that off of my Uncle Kaji boy there at the farm shop, so I never pulled a steering wheel on one of these. We're going to see how it goes. It's just held in with an O-ring, so you got to pop that up somehow. You got to use this razor knife to get started. Take a screwdriver. Oh yeah. And then that first little nut is just to do with the telescoping wheel. So I don't know if you want that loose or tight or what the scoop is on that. Does it pop up there? There it is. So, one way or another, this adjuster has to come off of that stud. There it goes. Uh-oh. Okay. Thought we lost her. Okay, now this big nut has to come off, and then I see where the puller is going to go. That's a little crusty down in there, so this isn't too bad. Oh, that's 1.1 inches. I think this socket's cracked. Too much milk. Washer type of star deal. Keeps this nut from backing off so you don't die when you're driving down the road or something. And the steering wheel falls off in your hand. Get that back. Try to buzz this nut off. Not too bad. Washer out of there. Now there are, see down in there, that star was locked into one of them, but there's these two threaded holes, and that's where our steering wheel puller is going to go if we keep this held up like that. That's what the lock turns this. That's what ultimately locks the steering wheel from telescoping when you turn that big knob out here. So if we leave that down, you can just kind of pull it up above that, because the puller is going to push on that center stud and pull on that hub. Now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that puller rigged up on here. So at this point, I rigged up the steering wheel puller. These two 5/16 bolts are threaded down into that hub, and I'm just going to try running the puller with a little impact and see how it goes. That is not enough oomph. AR battery's pretty low on that fill. I'm going to grab. So with the ratchet on there, as soon as I broke it loose, basically it seemed to have, yep, comes right off. So you stick the whole works off. And that's all there is to that. Ultimately what I'm trying to do is change the center console here. There's a big clip. Hold this piece of plastic on. I think it's going to have to be removed for it to fit through there. So pull that clip off, and then got to pull the side covers off that center console for whatever's holding this down. The main reason for changing is this, the kill cable, as you can see, was very hard to pull, and somebody just ripped it right out of there. So got a new kill cable and a new plastic piece here and a new tack while we're in there as well. So keep tearing her apart. There's two bolts to hold this cover on. Take that cover off, and then there's a bolt on each side of this piece. Pull them off, and then seems like that'll just come right off like that. Yeah, there, it's kind of hooked together. Yep. So the tricky part of this, it seems, is the power takeoff lever. I'm sure you could just rip the plastic part right off, but then you run the risk of breaking that. I'm sure it's just glued on there in one form or another. What I ended up doing was, there's this bolt here in the clutch pedal. It was up on this shaft. Pull that bolt off, loosen this one to bring this support bracket up out of the way. Take the clutch pedal off, and then you can slide the PTO lever out, and it's pinned onto its linkage here. So you can get the cotter pin out once it's out there, and then you can just pull it out this way. Take that bolt back off. Pull it out like that, and then it should, yep, just come right out. That way you don't have to go through the trouble of ripping that off, re-gluing it and all that. So I don't know, probably 6 in one, half dozen the other. There was that, and once the tachometer cable was off back here, the tack and everything will just come with it. The only thing I have left right now is, and I just took the light switch out, the ether button. The main thing up here holding it was actually the turn signal lever. I didn't realize the turn signal lever is this long. So once you take this screw loose, the switch itself is actually way down in there. So once you take that turn signal lever off, that kind of freed up the top. I was looking at the new one here. You can see there's all these different places where it's supposed to be screwed on there. And obviously this old one was just broken everywhere. So say the only thing I got left right now, I got to take the key switch out because the kill one is already completely broken out of there. The cigarette lighter probably just has a plug on the back. So go ahead and get this couple of other things, and then that'll be ready to come off. Went ahead, swapped the gauges onto this new piece, and put a new tack in. You can see this little tab that holds the tack. It was missing a bunch of screws, so I just had some regular sheet metal screws. Seemed to work fine, fit into that plastic. Nice thing is, when that little gauge cluster's out, there's screws on the front. You can pull the glass out. It's all one piece of glass in there. Pull that glass out and clean the back side of all of them. Mrs. Millennial Scrappers vacuuming out the cab currently. Trying to get some of the crap off the floor, and there's some stuff up underneath there in the console. So at this point, ready to start putting it back together. Okay, so now we're getting the console back on there. I wanted to show you guys, that is the tachometer there. And there is a ground clip for the ignition switch, and it also ties over to the cigarette lighter. But the wires are not long enough to wire that up and then take the console and set it down over the steering column. You have to set it down on there and then work on your head a little bit to get that screw started, which isn't the end of the world. But if you're taking it off, make sure you loosen that. The old console, that screw is broken off, so it didn't make any difference. The other thing too, I had changed the hoses going to the steering hand pump just because we were here, so figured less likely to have a problem. And as someone pointed out on Ag Talk, you put your brand new cab kit in, you don't want to have it all, you know, puking oil everywhere, getting your new refurb cab all oily. I mean, this thing isn't any show tractor by any means, but trying to make it decent. The backstory on this tractor was it was at the Mercer County Fair benefit auction. So basically this tractor was at such a point that someone gave it away. So more or less the amount of effort that we've put into this tractor has been able to give it a second life, per se. So my goal today here is to get this cab wrapped up and back on by tonight, but we'll see how we do. Next, we're going to slap us some cab glass on. We're going to need that screwdriver. Okay. B. This back seal's pretty good too. Give it to it. Take them off and snug them up. Now we're good. Need this. Your best line. So we're ready to set the cab back on. Got our expert forklift driver, Mrs. Puff.
Hi.
Hopefully everything under here is ready to roll and we didn't forget anything. We'll find out soon enough anyway. I'm gonna grab the forklift and get her hooked up. trying to rig this up on a floor jack. One of my help's left me for the day. Guess we're gonna try to He-Man it up in there. I don't know if I'm gonna die or not. I'd like to do this as quickly as possible. All the shift cables and everything down there in. I did have the governor apart on the injection pump, so I'm leaving the pipe from the air cleaner to the turbo off, so I have my handy dandy emergency step if need be. We'll just get that. Oh, maybe this isn't the best. Right there. Oh yeah, we're gonna find something better than that. Just in case this thing takes off. Be able to get that in there. Oh yeah, that'll work. Get her woed up. So I need to jump up in there. It's not in park. And I forgot that hydraulic return line. I see it burping, but we caught it in time. Apparently the timing helped the starting issue. So, I also forgot to mention that we don't have park at the moment. The cable it was working crappily when I took this cab off. I dropped this cab once, like it didn't fall over, but it fell off the pallet. So, right now all you got is neutral. I made hooking it up a little bit more interesting. Right now everything seems like it's working. The couplers in the back, they need a little bit of love, but we'll have that. Thermostats, radiators all pressure washed out, check the fluids after we ran